Hello, it's great to have your attention for the next 60 minutes. My name is Makiza Latifa and you're welcome to China Now, the only show tailored specifically to bring you updates from China. Let's begin the show with China currents as Kris is on standby to bring you his weekly news report of what's been trending in China. This week, it centers on Taiwan's leadership and legislature elections, which were held on January 13th, 2024. Also in the news is some information on Chinese technology as the Tianmu-1 satellite constellation has successfully completed the phased network construction. And then finally is a story on education where some students from the Huazhong Agricultural University have accused their academic supervisor of engaging in research fraud. Well, the management of the university launched an official inquiry into the matter on the same day, having established a team to undertake the investigations. I'm sure you'd want to know more about the stories I have highlighted and others, so let's get started.
China Currents is a weekly news talk show from China to the world. We cover viral news about China every week and also give you the newest updates on China's cutting-edge technologies. Let's get started. Hi, welcome to China Currents. I'm Kris. The top trending news in this week is undoubtedly the election in Taiwan and its aftermath. Taiwan's leadership and legislature election were held on January 13th. Candidates of the Democratic Progressive Party, Lai Ching-te and his running mate Xiao Bei-kim, won the leadership election. In the election of the island's 113 seats legislature, the Chinese Kuomintang Party garnered 52 seats, the DPP won 51 seats, and the Taiwan People's Party seized 8 seats. After election, a Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson made remarks on the result of the election in the Taiwan region. The spokesperson said that whatever changes take place in Taiwan, the basic fact that there is only one China in the world and Taiwan is part of China will not change. Chen Binghua, spokesperson for the State Council Taiwan Affairs Office, said the result revealed that the Democratic Progressive Party cannot represent the mainstream public opinion on the island. The US State Department has issued a statement on the election in China's Taiwan region. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson claimed that the statement seriously violates the One China principle and the Three China-US joint communiques. The Taiwan question is at the very core of China's core interests and the first red line. The One China principle is a basic norm in international relations, prevailing consensus among the international community. Just 2 days after election, on January 15th, the Republic of Nauru announced that it will cut the so-called diplomatic ties with the Taiwan authorities and re-establish diplomatic relations with China as a recognition of the One China principle, after the ties between the two countries were severed in 2003. The move was soon appreciated and welcomed by China's Foreign Ministry. The decision demonstrates that the One China principle is the common aspiration, said a spokesperson of the ministry. Nauru is an Oceanian island country with an area of only 21 square kilometers and a population of approximately 10,000 residents, making it the third smallest country in the world. After Nauru's re-establishment of diplomatic relations with China, Taiwan authorities now remain holding the so-called diplomatic ties with only 12 countries. Taiwan's economy has also been impacted by the election. According to a report from Taiwan Economic Daily News, Taiwan's stock market has faced 3 consecutive days of decline following the election of Lai Ching-te. In another report by China Times on the 17th, the new Taiwan dollar, NTD, experienced significant devaluation following the election. On the 16th, the NTD witnessed a sharp decline with increased foreign capital outflows. At one point, it reached 31.4 against the US dollar and closed at 31.392, marking a substantial depreciation of 1.77 cents, the largest drop in a year. On the 17th, the NTD further depreciated by 1.97 cents against the US dollar, closing at 31.589 and hit a nearly 2-month low. Next up, on January 16th, Chinese Premier Li Qiang met with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen during the World Economic Forum's annual meeting 2024 in Davos. Premier Li expressed China's willingness to import more marketable EU products and expressed hope that EU would relax restrictions on high-tech exports to China. He called for balanced development in Sino-EU trade and reiterated China's commitment to creating a first-class business environment marked by marketization, the rule of law, and internationalization. The Premier also urged the EU to adhere to the basic principles of a market economy, such as free trade, fair competition, and open cooperation, and to treat Chinese enterprises fairly and transparently in trade issues. President von der Leyen acknowledged the EU's appreciation for China's continuous opening up and expressed the bloc's desire not to decouple from China. The EU is keen to enhance dialogue and deepen cooperation with China in areas such as climate change and World Trade Organization reforms, as well as to increase cultural exchanges to further develop EU-China relations. Next up, we have two pieces of news regarding Chinese technology. On January 16th, the Tianmu-1 satellite constellation has successfully completed the phased network construction. According to China Aerospace Science and Industry Corporation Limited, the state-owned company responsible for the development of Tianmu-1 satellite constellation, the Sun-synchronous orbit constellation for meteorological purposes has been built and is now operational. The constellation consists of a total of 23 operational satellites, including 4 newly launched satellites on January 5th, which have joined the constellation in performing their designated tasks. The Tianmu-1 satellite constellation is China's first commercial remote sensing constellation compatible with the Beidou, GPS, GLONASS, and Galileo navigation systems. It integrates GNSSR, that's Global Navigation Satellite System reflectometry, occultation sounding, and ionospheric sounding to achieve all-weather, all-time integrated detection. The constellation enables real-time acquisition of environmental elements such as sea surface wind fields, sea ice, soil moisture, as well as atmospheric temperature, humidity, pressure, and ionospheric electron density profiles. The successful completion of the Tianmu-1 satellite constellation's phased network construction marks a significant achievement for China's space industry. The compatibility with the 4 major navigation systems strengthens China's position in the global satellite industry and paves the way for new applications and advancement in satellite-based services. Besides space, we have also witnessed a breakthrough in e-commerce. Chinese scientists have recently proposed an e-commerce protocol that incorporates quantum technology, marking a world-first implementation with a 5-user online trading scenario, as reported by China's Xinhua news agency on January 15th. The research team from Nanjing University and Renmin University of China developed a new quantum digital signature that encrypts the trading protocol, ensuring transaction integrity, authenticity, and non-repudiation. The study was published on Saturday in Science Advances, a subjournal of Science. With advancement in quantum computing, the classical encryption algorithms currently used in e-commerce are increasingly vulnerable to hacking due to exponential increases in computing power. As a result, researchers have been exploring the use of quantum entanglement, which involves distributing unhackable quantum states among multiple parties as a means to protect against identity theft and payment fraud. The development by the Chinese research team contributes to enhancing the e-commerce security in the upcoming quantum era, said Yinghua Lei, an associate professor from Renmin University of China. Next up, TikTok. Since November 2023, TikTok employees working in China, such as front-end, back-end development, data, and algorithms, have been receiving notices to transfer to overseas positions. The work locations include Singapore, Australia, Canada, and the United States. In 2020, TikTok was investigated in multiple regions, including the United States, the European Union, and Australia, over data security concerns. To address these risks, TikTok began establishing data centers in Europe, the United States, and other locations from 2020 and subjected itself to local regulations. Currently, compliance is the primary issue faced by companies going global. According to data from the app analytics agency Data AI, TikTok's global monthly active users are close to 1 billion. In the United States alone, TikTok's monthly active users have exceeded 150 million, which is nearly 45% of the total population. In terms of revenue, ByteDance's second quarter revenue grew by more than 40% to $29 billion, with nearly 20% of the ByteDance total revenue coming from overseas markets. From this, it can be estimated that this year's overseas market revenue is likely to exceed $20 billion, with a growth rate of more than 50%, and most of this income is contributed by TikTok. Next up, on January 16th, a group of Huazhong Agricultural University students jointly accused their academic supervisor, a professor surnamed Huang, of engaging in research fraud. In response, the university swiftly established an investigation team and launched an official inquiry on the same day. The comprehensive 125-page report presented detailed evidence of academic misconduct by Professor Huang, including data manipulation in scientific experiments and allegations of withholding student remuneration. The document was signed by 11 postgraduate students under the professor's tutelage. The exposé immediately garnered significant attention on Zhihu, a Quora-like question-and-answer platform. A whistleblower claimed her initial motivation for pursuing master's degree was to contribute her professional knowledge to the country's agricultural development, which makes her unable to remain silent on their supervisor's academic misconduct. We reject any form of research fraud and refuse to graduate with tarnished reputations. Next up, on January 14th, Shenzhen Happylink Pharmaceutical Group announced that its wholly owned subsidiary, Tecdow Pharma Italy SRL, had recently suffered from a telecommunication fraud by criminal gangs, involving an amount of more than 11.7 million euros. After the occurrence of this case, the company reported the case to local police at the first time, and they have commenced criminal investigation into the matter. On January 15th, Happylink fell more than 6% intraday. According to its annual report, the company had a total asset of 20.81 million yuan, and its revenue amounted to 7.15 million yuan in 2022. According to the official website, Happylink was founded in Shenzhen in 1998, listed on Shenzhen Stock Exchange in 2010, and listed on the main board of the Hong Kong Stock Exchange in 2020, with its main business covering an entire heparin industry chain, biomacromolecule CDMO, and investment, development, and commercialization of innovative medicines. With more than 2,000 employees globally, business coverage in more than 40 countries and regions, and 41 subsidiaries spreading across North America, Europe, and other regions. Happylink is the leading company in the global heparin industry chain, which not only owns preparations but also owns APIs. Especially for APIs, the August 2022 review report of Heparin's 2022 mid-year report by Suzhou Securities pointed out that Happylink is the world's largest supplier of heparin APIs, raw materials. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for watching this episode of China Currents. If you have any thoughts and comments about our show, please reach us at the email address below. I'm Kris, looking forward to hearing from you, and see you next time.
Thank you, Kris. Next up is Threshold with Lisa. In this episode, Lisa brings you a feature dubbed The Fall of the Titan, unraveling the mystery of the Gigantopithecus Blacki, and then also a story on the development of the world's first microatomic energy battery, which was announced by a Beijing-based startup called Bettervolts Technology on January 8th. Let's keep rolling to get more insights into these stories. Lisa, please.
Hi, I'm Lisa, and this is Threshold in China. Today we are going to share some exciting tech innovations and announcements that happened in China recently. This year, the Terminator franchise celebrates its 14th anniversary. One question that often comes up when watching these films is, how does a time-traveling robot, like the Terminator, never runs out of battery during its mission? Well, in the movie, they have some kind of technology to enable that. But in the real world, a Beijing-based startup called Bettervolts Technology has made a groundbreaking announcement on the 8th of January. They developed the world's first micro-atomic energy battery. Atomic energy battery, also known as nuclear batteries or radioactive isotope batteries, operate by converting the energy released from the decay of nuclear isotopes into electrical energy through semiconductor converters. This technology was extensively researched by the US and the Soviet Union in the 1960s. Currently, thermoelectric nuclear batteries are used for aerospace applications, but they are large, heavy, and expensive, thus making them unsuitable for civilian use. But the battery we're talking about today is incredibly small, measuring just 15 times 15 times 5 millimeters smaller than a coin, yet it can produce 100 microwatts of energy safely and reliably for 50 years without needing to be recharged. The nuclear battery generates power every second a minute, producing 8.64 joules of energy per day and 3,153 joules of energy per year. Multiple batteries can be connected to deliver higher output. The stable, zero-emission energy can help power AI and autonomous technologies driving China's next revolution. In a press conference, company CEO Zhang Gui revealed that the battery works by combining a decay of nickel-63 isotope with China's first diamond semiconductor module. This unique integration allows the battery to be dramatically miniaturized while keeping production costs low. The company's ability to create thin diamond wafers only 10 micrometers thin is at the core of this technology. These wafers enable the efficient conversion of the radioactive decay from nickel-63 into electricity. The battery has entered the pilot production stage and will soon be mass-produced and released on the market. This atomic energy has numerous applications including aerospace, AI devices, medical equipment, mine systems, advanced sensors, small drones, and micro-robots. The company plans to launch a 1-volt battery in 2025, which has the potential to power devices like phone indefinitely without the need for recharging. They can also provide continuous power to drones, which currently have limited flight times of around 15 minutes. Unlike chemical batteries such as lithium-ion batteries, atomic energy batteries have a much higher energy density. 1 gram of battery is capable of storing 3,300 watt-hours of energy. Also, they are not prone to catching fire or exploding, and in general have a longer lifespan. In addition, atomic energy batteries can withstand harsh environments and varying loads. You know how your phone sometimes turns off when it's too cold? Well, that's not going to happen anymore. These atomic energy batteries can operate within a temperature range of -60 to 120 degrees Celsius without any changes in performance and self-discharge. Beatable claims that the atomic batteries are completely safe, emitting no external radiation. This makes them suitable for medical devices implanted in the human body, such as pacemakers and artificial hearts. Additionally, atomic batteries are environmentally friendly as the radioactive source transforms into stable isotopes after the decay period, posing no threats or pollution. Currently, Beatable has already registered patent in Beijing and is in the process of registering PCT global patents. And the startup is collaborating with various nuclear research institutions and universities in China to further advance atomic battery technology. In the dense jungle of the southern China, there is an unsolved mystery. There once lived a creature 3 meters tall, weighing 500 kilograms, twice the size of a modern-day gorilla. The Gigantopithecus Blacki, also known as the giant ape. They are the largest primates ever to walk the earth. Yet, despite their enormous presence, they vanished from the face of the planet, leaving only teeth behind. What caused them to disappear while other Asian great apes survived? To shed light on this ancient enigma, a team led by Dr. Zhang Yingqi from the Chinese Academy of Science examined 22 caves scattered throughout southern China to find out about the last days of the Gigantopithecus. They used radiometric dating technique, which is looking at clues left behind by radioactive elements naturally presented in these materials to tell us how old they are, utilizing 157 different radiometric age obtained from 6 distinct methods. Using these data, the team established a timeline and mapped out the final presence of the Gigantopithecus. As the researchers delved deeper into the cave, they also explored the ancient environment that the giant ape once lived in. They analyzed the remnants of plants and animals and reconstructed the past. And what they've discovered was a mosaic of forest and grassland that thrived approximately 2.3 million years ago. But as the team ventured closer to the extinct window, the story took a turn. Between 295,000 and 215,000 years ago, the environment underwent a dramatic transformation. As the difference between the seasons became more pronounced, like summer got hotter and winter got colder, that brought about changes in plant communities and the development of open forest habitat. And this was a challenge that Gigantopithecus struggled to overcome. While its close relative, orangutan, adapted to changing circumstances by becoming smaller, more agile, and adjusting its feeding behavior and habitat preferences, Gigantopithecus took a different approach. Despite the lack of its preferred food sources, Gigantopithecus persisted by relying on less nutritious alternative food sources, resulting in a significant reduction in dietary diversity. Paradoxically, its size continued to grow larger and bulkier, while the geographic range of its feeding activities drastically diminished. As a result, the population of Gigantopithecus faced prolonged survival pressure, gradually dwindling until it eventually faced extinction. In contrast to the adaptable species like orangutan, who quickly responded to environmental changes, Gigantopithecus Blacki behaved in a more stubborn nature, resisting the need to adapt. Unfortunately, this led to its demise. The researchers were amazed by their findings as they pieced together the puzzle of the Gigantopithecus extinction. Their work not only uncovered the tragic fate of this magnificent creature, but also provided insights into primates' evolution. However, our knowledge of these distant relatives remain limited due to a lack of fossil evidence. We still have questions about their preferred habitat. Did they primarily live on trees or on the ground? What's their place in the evolutionary tree? Why did their size change? Further exploration and discovery of crucial fossils are necessary to gain more insights into these mysterious beings. As the sun set over the ancient caves, the scientists packed their tools and notes, carrying with them the weight of the newfound knowledge. Although the mystery of the Gigantopithecus Blacki has been somewhat unraveled, the tale of its existence reminds us of the delicate and resilient nature of life on Earth. And that is all for today's Threshold. We hope you liked this news section on science and technology in China. As usual, we welcome your feedback and thoughts.
And that's all for Threshold with Lisa. Up next is the Thinkers Forum. Last week, you'd recall that we engaged the director of the Geopolitical Economy Research Group, Alan Freeman, in an interview on the year 2023 in retrospect, and he made some very interesting comments. This week, our guest on this segment is U.S. Senator candidate Diane Sare, with her own assessment of 2023. She'll answer questions on what she thinks are some of the most significant stories that shaped 2023, and whether or not American diplomacy will take a change of course this year. Stick and stay with us.
Cognitive dissonance or confused, conflicted, because I think 2023, perhaps more than any other year, at least in my lifetime, perhaps in history, is a year of transition. Maybe that's the word, transition. The problem is right now we don't know where the transition is going, how it's going to resolve itself, but we have seen the most hideous warfare, the grinding up of the Ukrainian army, which was completely predictable and knowable, but is as Madeleine Albright might have said, a price she was willing to pay to quote unquote weaken Russia, which was Biden's goal, which of course didn't happen. The situation in Gaza, which is really horrific genocide before everyone's eyes, completely gut-wrenching. On the other hand, you had the Belt or the BRICS conference in South Africa in August. It was the 10th anniversary of the Belt and Road Initiative, and you see coming into being a completely new paradigm on the planet, which is not based on colonial methods and tactics. And that's why I guess I would say conflicted or cognitive dissonance. There are completely different trajectories going on simultaneously. And I think that creates a state of great tension for many people. Yes, well, as I said, it was the 10th anniversary of the Belt and Road Initiative, which was launched by Chinese President Xi Jinping in Kazakhstan in 2013. And this now has over 150 nations involved, and it's thousands of great projects of infrastructure. It's really changing the face of the globe. Unfortunately, many Americans are not aware of that. I think it's partly in response to that the so-called West, or this Anglo-American NATO unholy alliance, is trying to trigger all kinds of wars. They want to stop the collaboration. It's the old British imperial divide and conquer game. And so I suppose some people would say October 7th, the Hamas attack on Israel. But I would say just as the February 24th, 2022 Russian quote unquote invasion of Ukraine was really not the beginning of that crisis, this attack also was not. It should have been prevented. It should have been known. It was terrible, but what Netanyahu is doing in response is a crime against humanity, with the full backup of the United States, the UK, and others. Well, it'll have to take a change of course in that region, because there won't be any Palestinian people left in Gaza at this rate. I think it's about to change course, which is why the killing is escalating. The problem is, how is it going to escalate? Are we going to provoke and engage Iran? Is this going to become a very wide conflagration? We're going to choose to be battling Russia there and in Europe? I don't know. I think some people in the United States are realizing that we really can't handle these things. I mean, where our productive capacity is shot. No one wants to join the military. So, yeah, I don't know how it will change. Either escalate into complete disaster and catastrophe, or saner heads will prevail and, we'll take another course. I think in Ukraine, we're probably going to throw Zelensky under the bus and blame him for all the failures. And of course, he is responsible in a certain degree, but not really, because he was just doing as he was told. Will we do something like that with Netanyahu? I think he should consider that, but I think he's so arrogant that he wouldn't think of it. So things are definitely going to change. We're not in a position of stability. We're not in a moment where things can continue as they are. I don't think the Colorado decision to throw Trump off the ballot is going to hold. The Supreme Court, if it's upholds the Constitution, simply will not allow it. The excuse they used, which was calling for insurrection or something, even the very biased Congress didn't even bother to try and charge Trump with insurrection. It was so ridiculous. So I think that will not hold. And I should have mentioned one of the other major events of the year was Robert Kennedy Jr. leaving the Democratic Party. That's a big deal to have someone of the Kennedy name say, and he tried very hard to stay in the Democratic Party and run in the primaries. And I was very happy that he said publicly that what was going on is the Democratic National Committee said that if he won the primary in Iowa or New Hampshire, his delegates, or he wouldn't get delegates, basically the delegates from those states to the national convention would all be given to Joe Biden. So in effect, any Democrat who voted for Robert Kennedy Jr. in the primary would be disenfranchised. That is clearly a major shift in the US. It's a major shift that someone of the family name of Kennedy would leave the party of his family, the Democratic Party, and run as an independent. And I just think it's further commentary on the sorry state of affairs and the sorry state of alleged democracy inside the United States. A very large number of Americans are very frustrated with both parties. The fact that he can run a credible, viable campaign as independent, as not affiliated with either party, indicates that there's an enormous number of Americans, a sizable number of voters who are sick of the parties as well. The party divisiveness, the party incompetence. Personally, I would say the number one issue in the United States is for people to actually get their vote counted fairly and accurately. I think one reason why a lot of people don't vote and a lot of people now don't even bother to run for office is that it is widely known that there is massive election fraud. And I don't mean all the smaller kinds of fraud like stuffing ballot boxes or encouraging undocumented migrants and immigrants to vote, which goes on. Those are not significant enough numbers, but I mean massive fraud through the computer systems and things that really should not be allowed, but people have a very hard time fighting. I ran for U.S. Senate in 2022 against Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader. He's been, by the way, to give you a sense of how rotten this is, as of January 2023, he had been in Washington, D.C. for 42 years, 24 in the House and 18 in the Senate. I think that's which way it went. Anyway, it's completely ridiculous. I just read an article about Kirsten Gillibrand, the woman I'm running against, who happens to be the same age as me, below 60, I'll put it that way. And they said, oh, she's so young, she could be in the Senate another 30 years. Our founding fathers did not intend for people to be in office for their entire life. They wanted a representative government, which means you have a job, you go into office to represent a particular view or outlook to help reflect the diversity of the population, and then you leave office and go back to your job. At any rate, part of the way this is enforced, I experienced directly where I watched my vote being stolen on national television. I watched and I don't mean percentage, I mean the number of votes, which election night was up to about 57,000 or 1%, which already was suspiciously low. I was polling at around 5%, but at any rate, 1%. And by the next morning, my vote had gone down to 29,000. And by Friday of election week, my vote had gone down to 25,000 votes, 0.5%. And in some counties, like the county where I reside, I actually was able to go and try and get an investigation to no avail. But election night, my vote was 6,212. The next morning, my vote was down to 177. How do you explain that? That has to be shifted. And I think there's a possibility of that getting shifted in a big way going into 2024. I think there is a good possibility that Donald Trump would win the elections, but as I said, everything is so transitional that anything could happen. It's very unstable. I wish that a dark horse would appear who is a real anti-war candidate who really wants the United States to get back to its American revolutionary identity and collaborate with Russia, with China, with the BRICS countries for the good of mankind. Unfortunately, I don't think we have a candidate for president in the United States who is actually qualified to be the president at the moment. I think in the real world, President Putin of Russia has been remarkably reasonable, calm, strategic, and frankly has played an important role in preventing things from really getting out of control on the planet. One of my favorite memorable figures is the foreign minister of South Africa, Pandor, Naledi Pandor, I think I'm not sure her first name, but she is an amazing diplomat, very gutsy and forthright. If we had fair awards, she should be getting Time Magazine Woman of the Year. I appreciated her telling Tony Blinken when he visited South Africa not to, she said, she didn't address him directly. He was there on the dais with her, and she said, "We don't appreciate it when leaders from other countries come and bully us and tell us with whom we're allowed to have relations." I thought that was great. So she would be my choice.
Well, here's where we part ways on this week's edition of the show. I hope it's been educative as usual. Through the show, we're hoping to show you a different world, a different culture, and a different way of thinking. So let China not be far away from you anymore. And if you'd still like to know other things about China, kindly do not hesitate to reach out to us through the email provided below. My name is Makiza Latifa. See you same time next week. But in the meantime, enjoy this short footage of Northeast Chinese people's life in winter.
child dream, and my husband with my big family came to this city to visit only these eyes. I think it's fantastic. It's my dream.